Okay, here we go. Maggots. Oh, this bone is tough.
Open a vein. Let the blood flow.
We can now say that was a catastrophic mistake. Through the 18th and 19th centuries, war was transformed. The scale of it was vastly increased, huge armies fighting right the way around the globe. And the technology changed too. It became ever more lethal, ever more destructive. And there was one weapon that really started to dominate the battlefield in this period, and that was cannon. During the Napoleonic War, during the American Civil War, everything just grew to an enormous scale. This was industrial warfare. Exploding rounds, rifle barrels. War was becoming ever more lethal, and the wounds more terrible. I've come to the commandery in Worcester. Now, this was once a military headquarters during the English Civil Wars. It would have been no stranger to the boom of cannon. And I've come here to find out how medical science, how surgery tried to keep up with the transformation in military technology. How did surgeons deal with the horrifying wounds that ever more impressive cannon and other weapons could inflict? All right, Kev, the last time I talked to you, we were talking about English Civil War in the 17th century. We're now coming forward, 100 years or so? What's the state of play? How are things changing?
We're still in the realm of the four humours. However, we're getting a better understanding of what the human body does and how it works. We've had the work of people like the Hunter brothers with their medical schools. They've been demonstrating to students. There's been dissections going on. Medical education has taken a massive step forward.
So we're getting a better sense of the mechanics of the body, but not what underlies it all, not the essential biology that makes us tick.
Exactly. One thing that did come out of the English Civil War with Wiseman was the belief in that the heat of the blood was important. They didn't understand about the blood carrying oxygen, but they did understand about the blood retaining its heat, and that was so important. So they could recognise gangrene, they could recognise a lot of different illnesses, but their understanding at the beginning of the 19th century is way off. A good example is cholera. Today we know it's caused by the cholera vibrio, spread through dirty water, but to the 19th century mind, it was still caused by miasma.
Bad smells.
Bad air, yeah, which basically imbalanced the humours. But yet we're still seeing some really interesting developments. 1850s, we've got Pasteur discovering germs. We've got the work of Lister, Joseph Lister, and his work with carbolic acid.
So things starting to look up by the mid-1800s. But one good thing for surgeons is there were plenty of wars. No shortage of people to experiment on, right?
Yeah.
Because human beings are fighting all over the planet in ever bigger wars in this period. So if I'm fighting with Napoleon outside the gates of Moscow, or I'm at the Battle of Waterloo, I'm injured, what chance do I have, first of all, of just getting in front of a doctor or a surgeon?
Because we've got these, I would just say, massive kind of battles, industrial scale, you have to take a different approach with them. And a new approach was taken by the French surgeon Paré. He developed a triage system. The people are being stacked in seriousness of their wounds.
It's a good reminder that for armies, it's not just about new technology and tools, it's about building systems.
Exactly.
And that can have a big impact.
And this was also on the British side, we had George Guthrie, who was a brilliant surgeon. He was a war surgeon. He was very big on collecting statistics. So that would inform the best way to treat and the best way you could apply resources. And that laid the foundations for what we have today.
Right, so we got triage, we got ambulances, we've got people collecting data, working out why people are dying, what wounds are survivable. What about the treatment itself?
Okay, The treatment really hasn't changed all that much.
Oh, okay, that's disappointing.
You still, anything that goes in could disrupt a humour. If you are being treated for a bullet wound, then we may have to purge you. So we're going to have to bleed you.
So if you get a bullet wound,
Yeah.
one of the ways they could treat you is to just take some of your blood out.
Yes.
To get everything back
Balance
in
the
balance.
humours, yes.
Right. And we can now say that was a catastrophic mistake.
Yes, without a doubt.
Okay, good.
I know I'm going to demonstrate how they did it.
Great.
Which arm would you like?
Left arm, please.
Okay. This is a genuine antique
Oh, very nice.
from the early 19th century. It's a thumb lancet.
Oh, no.
So what we're going to do, you'll be gripping a pole. We want the veins popping out, and what we'll do, we'll just open a vein, and then we'll just let,
Just let the blood run.
let the blood flow until we think that there's been enough.
How much blood would I be letting here?
Until they thought you'd been bled enough. Don't forget, this isn't just happening once, it could be happening several times a day.
And these instruments are not properly cleaned or anything, so you could be getting infections.
Well done. There we go.
So this is just wrong on every level.
Yes, basically. There's no understanding of germs yet. However, technology has also caught up with bloodletting.
So they can make it even more efficient to take the blood out of your body.
Indeed.
Just what you need on a battlefield. More ways of bleeding. Oh, what's that?
Scarifier. What you would do is you'd cock the trigger, place it over the skin, and then you've got 12 blades come out into the flesh.
Just what you don't need if you're fighting off infection or dealing with some wound on
Exactly.
some other part of your body.
While this idea of bleeding does really seem a bit horrible,
Yes.
some advances were being made. George Guthrie was really at the forefront. One of the things he didn't like doing was amputating. Now, considering what's gone earlier, that may seem a bit odd, but he believed in preserving limbs. So if he was going to amputate your hand, rather than amputate the hand totally, he would try and preserve some fingers. So it's a new way of doing things. It's a more selective way of doing things. One of his biggest advances, biggest beliefs, was his opposition to this. This is the petit tourniquet. So if you've got a wound, you apply this, you tighten it up, which I'm not going to do because it can cause damage. He really didn't like this because it stops the blood reaching parts of the body and it could cause serious damage. He really didn't like this at all. Guthrie's approach, to stop bleeding, serious bleeding, what he would do, he would instruct to dissect the skin, pull it back, expose the blood vessel, and then just suture that blood vessel.
Oh, right.
It's a totally different way of doing things. The problem with it is if you're facing a mass of injured men, how much time have you got?
Yeah, that sounds like it's quite time consuming.
It is very time consuming.
Easier to slap a tourniquet on that.
Exactly. It's revolutionary. Is it practical? Now, there's another thing that Guthrie introduced, especially with dealing with gangrene, wasn't to amputate, but was to try and debride, get rid of the dead flesh.
So keep the limb in place, but
Yeah.
just get rid of the
Exactly.
stuff that was infected, right?
And this was achieved using this.
Sulfuric acid?
Watered sulfuric acid or nitric acid.
Wow, just get the acid to burn off the
Yeah.
rotting flesh.
Oh, yes.
And did that work?
Well, it would do, yes, but again, you've got to limit the damage to with the healthy flesh.
And would that be an extremely painful way of treating it?
When you've got the dead flesh, no, but when it hit the live flesh, oh, yes. Don't forget, you're not going to just be shaking this all over the wound. Exactly. You're not going to be pouring it over. You're going to be really administering carefully just to the dead flesh. Don't forget, these people are not butchers. They care about the patients. These surgeons did care. They weren't butchers and they cared.
But sometimes there's nothing else for it. The limb has got to go. It's got to be amputation.
Indeed it has.
Right, what's this?
This is a joint of pork doing a brilliant imitation of a person who needs to have their arm amputated.
Right, so imagine that's the torso, the arm's stretching
That's
off
it.
down there. So we've got to get this bit off. How do we do that?
Well, first off, in the American Civil War, you've got chloroform.
Oh, at last.
So that will be placed over your nose and mouth, and the chloroform would gently be dropped onto the material. You would breathe in the fumes. This isn't, you breathe it in and you're out. It could take a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes to work.
But it puts you to sleep.
It'll put you to sleep. The downside is we have this image of amputations taking a couple of minutes. In a war situation, it's a lot more difficult. You're going to have to deal with one after the other. For this, I'm using 20th century instruments. They didn't change all that much. Now, the cut, if I could just borrow your arm, would often be right round. We'd have applied a tourniquet at the top, stop the bleeding, cut round.
You want to get the flesh off.
Exactly.
Right. You've made the incision to make it easier.
So there you go, there you go.
Okay. So you've got
Nice smooth cut,
Oh,
not,
sorry.
no sawing. You've got to cut through the muscle bundles. That's a good cut.
That's a good cut. Okay.
Now we apply the bone saw. Okay, different kinds of saws, didn't change all that much. So, what you're going to do, hold on, and I want you to cut through the bone as quickly as you can. Chloroform isn't about lying there gently out of it. The person will be moving.
Okay.
So you're going to have assistants holding the person down while you're doing this.
Absolutely. Oh, the sound.
And as quickly as you can.
Sound. Okay. Why is speed important?
Less discomfort.
Oh, this bone is tough. Oh, there we go.
Excellent.
Isn't that amazing?
We haven't finished yet.
Well, no, I can tell that.
Now we've got to tie off all the major blood vessels.
So all the arteries and all the veins coming
they've
through.
got to be tied off.
What do you mean tie them off?
Tie them off with a little bit of cotton, twine.
And the severed limb?
The severed limb thrown on a pile.
Yeah. I found a few of those at the battlefield of Waterloo, so they're still there today.
Yeah.
The chloroform will wear off. They're going to wake up missing an arm.
Yeah.
And that is going to be extremely painful.
Yeah. But don't worry, because even in the American Civil War, people were still being bled. So now you've got to be purged. You know, hopefully infection isn't going to set in.
If I'm doing dozens of these operations, am I cleaning the tools in between?
You'll wipe them off and that's it, carry on.
So if anyone's got a bad infection, I'm just spreading it to all the different...
Exactly.
Right. God, look at those bits of meat on the saw. If it doesn't require amputation, what else can you do to a wound to try and heal it?
You're dealing with dead flesh, gangrenous flesh, and you don't want to amputate. There was something that was introduced in the American Civil War.
Okay, here we go. Maggots.
Indeed.
Oh.
Maggots are excellent for debridement, the eating of dead flesh.
Because in the Napoleonic Wars they were using the acid.
Yeah.
Now they're using maggots.
Yeah.
Stop trying to escape, little fella.
So this was introduced during the American Civil War. Still used today. What they use today is the maggots of green bottles, which like eating meat, especially bread, sterile. Put them into ulcers, anywhere where there's dead flesh, and they do a nice clean job of eating all that horrible dead flesh.
So they like dead flesh, they don't like healthy flesh?
No.
That's handy, isn't it?
It is.
So I can put them on my hand.
Yeah, go on.
There you go.
Yeah, go on.
And they're not going to eat my hand.
No.
Because it's just too healthy.
Exactly.
But stick them on some dead... Oh, they're quite ticklish, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you'd have these just crawling, would you bandage them in?
You'd bandage them in.
Oh, that is weird.
Yeah, you'd place them in, bandage them in. And that was first, like I said, first introduced during the American Civil War. Still done today.
What about the weapons? Because through this period, weapons are getting more and more lethal.
Indeed they are. If you look from the Napoleonic up to the American Civil War, we've got cannons, we've got artillery. They are killing swathes of people. Once you've been taken apart by a cannonball or artillery shell, you're going to have great difficulty putting that person back again. There is an account from the Napoleonic Wars of when a soldier saw a cannonball bouncing along the floor and decided to stick his foot out and try and stop it like a football. It took his leg off.
Just shows, even going relatively slowly, there's so much mass and momentum. They're incredibly dangerous.
Very dangerous. However, especially during the American Civil War, there was one weapon that caused more damage than any other. It's a mini bullet, or a mini shell, used with a rifle. That was responsible for the majority of injuries.
What's different about that round compared to the musket balls of a previous generation?
These are a bit more powerful. They're also a lot heavier.
They're going to go into you and they might move around a bit once they're in there as well.
All musket balls do that, but these are going to bounce around.
But if you're lucky enough and one of those has gone into you but hasn't shredded your internal organs, are you still able to extract them in the way that the previous surgeons we've been looking at, what they would have done?
Oh yes.
Our man here's been shot in the shoulder.
He has. The treatment actually hasn't changed all that much. So the first thing we're going to do, I can see the entry wound, no exit wound. That means I get to probe in.
Oh, that would have been painful. Oh, I hear metal on metal.
Indeed. So it hasn't gone too deeply, thankfully. Has it lodged in the shoulder? We don't know. Next thing we get the scalpel and enlarge the wound with a bullet forceps.
Oh, that's the painful bit.
Don't forget, we've got anaesthesia for this. And that allows us to remove the shell. Then, staunch any bleeding, sew him up, apply any necessary oils, and he's good to go. Also, hopefully, the shoulder hasn't been broken.
But if there's infection, if the shoulder's broken, if it all goes bad, it's coming off, is it?
Yeah, well, we've got to wait and see what happens if gangrene sets in. If the infection has set in and it does go bad, yeah, there's every chance it will be amputated.
He's been lucky here, it's just gone into his shoulder, but things get a bit ugly if it goes deeper into the torso, presumably.
Right. If it goes too far into the abdomen, you've got a lot of organs there.
A lot of soft things in there.
Yeah, but they're processing food into waste. Any of that gets perforated, you're not going to survive. If it goes into too deeply into the chest, they're not even going to bother filling around after the shell. It's too dangerous. So really, not good places.
So the triage system is basically designed to find guys who've been sort of wounded in the extremities. So if you've been shot in the guts, the triage system is against you.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that people are still being hit by bullets today, so we're still treating these wounds. But obviously the understanding of health and the science around it has come on so far.
Germs are a relatively new discovery. We're in the 1860s, American Civil War. These things haven't caught on. But they did introduce quite a revolutionary thing, carbolic acid. Carbolic acid comes from coal tar. It's an excellent antiseptic. It kills germs. The problem was they weren't using it for that. They were using it to drive away the bad air, the miasma.
So little do they know, they did actually have a brilliant antiseptic But they just chose not to use it.
By spraying it around rooms, it probably did some good by killing the germs, but they really didn't realise it. Today, you can't really go wafting around carbolic acid. It can be quite toxic. Carbolic acid did find its way into this stuff later in the 19th century, carbolic soap. If you have a whiff of it, then you can imagine what it smelled like.
It smells like a hospital ward today.
Yeah, very clean.
Yeah.
Carbolic acid was to become a major thing. Joseph Lister, the English surgeon, discovered that if he placed a piece of material on an operating wound, the wound did not become infected. And he took to operating in a steam of carbolic acid and water. So that gave to the rise of carbolic soap. It was a major move forward.
So they tried to wash down the surfaces,
Yeah.
even wash down their tools.
Yeah. One of the proponents for the use of carbolic acid for sterilising wounds was an American army surgeon called Joseph Bill. Now in the 1860s, he's having to deal with arrow wounds.
From bows and arrows?
Yeah. The American Indian Wars.
Of course.
Now he's puzzled because he's never had to deal with arrow wounds. So he has to go back, and he admits this, to the medieval and Tudor writers to learn how to deal with arrow wounds. The truth is, his treatment is the same, but he's also forced to make new tools to remove arrows. And this is one of them. I've just taken a generic arrowhead, so it goes down the shaft.
Go down the shaft, then you get to this bit, and then you have to open slightly.
Open slightly.
Oh, that must have been painful.
And then
Close.
catch it, and then allows you to remove the arrow. And this brings us back to the medieval surgeon Theodoric, who said that every day surgeons are creating new tools and new techniques. Applied back then, applied in the 19th century, and applies today.
So Kev, it really feels that in this period, yes, the technology has advanced, the tools are getting better, but now at last we have this real revolution in understanding disease and pain and cleanliness, and we're entering the modern world.
Indeed we are. We've got the anaesthesia, we've got the antiseptics being introduced, we've got an understanding of germs. We're entering, as you say, the modern world.
So is it all right to walk around with a musket ball left in you?
Well, it's best if you get them out.
So you'd have had to tell the difference between bone and lead musket.
Oh yes. So we've got egg yolk, turpentine and oil of roses. We put that in there and we just make a little hole.
I would have to be so ill to let you do that to my head. The transition from the medieval period into Tudor times and on into the civil wars saw advancing technologies. One of those technologies really did change the battlefield: gunpowder. It revolutionised warfare. It also caused all sorts of wounds that hadn't really been seen before. I've come to the commandery in Worcester. This was a medieval hospital. It was one of the royalist headquarters during the Civil War. It's the perfect place to come and learn about these deadly new weapons, the carnage they caused, and whether surgery was able to keep up with the horrifying new wounds. So last time you were with Matt, you were talking about medieval battlefield surgery. And that blew my mind. But we've now moved forward into the Tudor era. What's happening? What's changing?
Well, we've got a growth in firearms.
Look at that. The musket.
Indeed. Firearms did emerge in the 15th century, and at the Battle of Bosworth there were probably more firearms than there were bows and arrows. However, in the 16th century, these are now taking precedence.
What kind of damage does one of those do to the human body?
Basically, it's going to smash bone. It's going to penetrate the human body. It's going to get into organs. And what's worse is, it's not just going to go like an arrow and go in the one place. This can end up going all round the body.
So it pinballs down your chest.
Exactly. Similar with arrow wounds, it's going to take in bits of material. It can take in little bits of armour, bone.
How does medical science evolve to try and heal people?
Things really, from a philosophical point of view, haven't moved on. We are still in the era of the four humours: blood, phlegm, yellow bile and black bile. If your humours are equal, you are healthy. If you've got too much of a particular humour or not enough, then you're in a state of disease, you're ill. So anything penetrating the human body is going to imbalance the humours.
You bet it is.
But there is one area things are moving on: technology. And this was due to one man, Ambrose Paré, a brilliant technologist, brilliant innovator, still a man of his time, however. He made some fantastic discoveries and some brilliant inventions.
I'm not surprised. A lot of Frenchmen needed bullets taken out of them in this period.
So if you're trying to detect a musket ball, you actually use the same technique as you did when searching for an arrow. You probed.
Okay.
For that, I need a subject.
Not me, I hope.
Oh, no. One I prepared earlier.
This poor guy.
Yeah, this is Joe.
Right, he's been hit by a musket ball, has he?
He has. We've got some damage at the side. The first thing we have to do, using the knife, and we're just going to reopen the wound a bit.
And obviously, no anaesthetic here, right? Joe's awake and you're just opening up the wound, working on him like that.
Paré doesn't record any anaesthetic being used. So we must assume no. And then we're going to probe the wound. What we're doing is wait and see if you can feel the bullet, and I can. So
you're doing it by touch?
Yeah.
Come on, go.
You can.
So you'd have had to tell the difference between bone and lead musket ball.
Oh, yes.
I think that's it there.
Yeah, you've got it. Yeah. Now, we've got to be careful, because the one thing we don't want to do is to push that ball further into the chest. So I get the least invasive piece of equipment. I'll go with this one.
Let's have a look at these. It's a pair of snipe-nosed pliers.
Yeah, but the only problem is I've got to make the wound a little bit wider again.
To fit these in?
Yeah.
Joseph is seriously regretting his decision to join the Spanish Armada here. You're just digging it out, aren't you?
Oh, basically, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Now,
That is quite satisfying, actually, isn't it?
Joe probably thinks so too.
Yeah, I bet he does.
Now, next thing we're going to do, we're going to probe a bit more, because we want to make sure that the ribs are intact. Still spring there.
So
with a little less vigour, if I might.
less vigour?
Less vigour.
So you can tell from a rib when you're touching it, you can tell if it's still connected to all the right bits.
Yeah, you can feel it, how smooth it is. It's not fractured in any way. What we'll then do is we'll apply a little roll of bandage, soaked in turpentine.
So a bit of disinfectant.
Yeah.
So without knowing why, they were starting to understand they had to somehow keep that wound clean.
They did recognise, come the 16th century, that wounds could turn gangrenous. But to them, it was an imbalance of the humours. So it really was, make sure there was no unpleasant smells coming from it. Most important. And if he's got a robust enough immune system, he should pull through.
Joe lives to fight again another day.
That's providing he's got a surgeon who is well up on the latest techniques. Otherwise, it might be a case of just pulling the musket ball out and applying a red hot cautery. The one thing that Paré was most famous for was his discovery during a battle. The the standard treatment for wounds was cauterizing. You heat it up in the fire, stick it in the wound, and stops the wound bleeding. You had cauterizing irons matched for any wound. With this one, a slice, stick it in.
Okay, that's if you get a sword blow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other way you could do it would by applying a hot oil, hot elder oil and treacle.
You heat that up and just douse it on someone's wound.
Exactly.
And that stops it bleeding. Does it also stop infection?
Yes, but you could also trap the infection inside. However, this was what Paré discovered. This was a game changer. In this bowl, I've got egg yolk, turpentine oil, and rose oil.
How did you discover that?
Because he'd run out of the elder oil and the treacle.
Imagine the other stuff he must have used to get to that, though.
So this is it's a cold oil. So there's only one way to find out if it works.
I think I know where this is going.
Would you like to roll up a sleeve?
Would you like me to shoot myself as well?
We're just going to put some of that on.
So this is cold oil. So previously it's been super hot treacle. Now it goes to cold egg yolk.
Yeah, so we've got egg yolk, turpentine, and oil of roses.
That is unbelievable, that smell.
Yes, but turpentine does have antiseptic qualities.
Does it?
So do roses. But what happened was, Paré discovered that the men he applied this to, their wounds healed far more quicker than those who'd had the hot oil treatment.
I'm not surprised. If I was an infection, I'd run a mile. So he didn't know why, but what was actually going on? Because it's a disinfectant.
Yeah, in a way, yes. But what's happening is he has got no idea of this. He's still a man who deals with the four humours. But this was a major move forward. What he did influenced surgeons throughout history. And I say surgeons, in this country, thanks to Henry VIII, we've now got the Guild of Barber Surgeons.
So it's not just a Wild West. You're a surgeon, you're part of the guild, you're registered with the king, and you can practice.
In some ways, it's a good time to be a surgeon because you've got these wonderful books available. In the 16th century, we've got Vesalius, we've got Da Vinci, massive exploration into the human body. And you've got guys like Paré making these new discoveries.
You've got plenty of people shooting each other as well, so they've got lots to practice on.
Indeed.
So Joe has had the bullet removed.
Yeah.
He's found himself a ship. They've limped back to Spain.
Yeah.
What are his chances of surviving though? Because his troubles are only really just beginning, aren't they? There's lots that can still kill him.
The most important thing is how robust his immune system is. The better nourished you were, the more robust your immune system was.
Which of course in armies, famously, they're always lacking food, they've got bad water. So a lot of the time, I'm sure that would be a huge problem.
Yeah, it was a big problem. In this case, we'll imagine that he's been looked after, so his immune system is robust. We haven't had any problems with the fracturing of ribs. Didn't appear to be any clothing pushed into the wound. What we're going to look at now is if there's been any gunpowder burns. Now, Paré really didn't like gunpowder burns. He saw gunpowder as poisonous. We know that's not necessarily true, but to Paré, that had to be dealt with.
Those are burns caused by gunpowder igniting close to you. Okay.
Yeah. I've got a treatment for that.
Oh, good.
Onion paste.
Oh, that doesn't sound too bad. The things he must have smeared over his patients before he found stuff that worked. And with modern science, is there actually any benefit of this?
There is. Onions contain sulfates. Sulfates are excellent for killing bacteria. So, yeah, there is a sound science behind it. Not that Paré understood that.
This is a very basic antibiotic.
Very, very basic. To him, it's balancing the humours.
So smearing this all over a wound wouldn't do any harm. In fact, it might help.
Yeah.
But there's so many different types of wounds, aren't there? So many different weapons, so many different things that can happen to you on a battlefield. So presumably there's all sorts of different tools appropriate to each wound.
Mainly, we see a growth when it comes to musket balls. They're getting really common on battlefields. There's one thing about a lead musket ball. It's soft. If the ball is lodged somewhere and you need a bit more force, to get it out, then you can use a contraption like this. You would place that against the ball. That would then be twisted down, and as it goes down, bores
into the ball.
Yeah, into the ball.
But all the time pressing against whatever it's
Exactly. So that's going to be agony. Another kind of instrument we've got are forceps, which allow the surgeon to go in, catch the ball, and easily withdraw it. One of Paré's famous ones is this one, which some wags have called the hungry hippo.
If you're opening those jaws inside the body, that surely is doing quite a lot of damage when you're in there, isn't it?
Yes, there's no way around that. If they need to get the ball out, sometimes they may leave the ball in if they didn't think it was going to do any damage.
So is it all right to walk around with a musket ball left in you?
Well, it's best if you get them out, because lead may have antimony in them, that can be poisonous. But if you couldn't, sometimes they may work themselves out, a bit like arrows did. It's a process of sloughing, and if it's close enough to the surface.
Body forces out the ball?
Yeah.
Wow. And if you couldn't get the bullet out at all, there was always the nuclear option, right? That's just saw it off.
Amputation becomes more common once we get into the English Civil War. One of the people who were really in favour of amputations during the English Civil War was Richard Wiseman. He was the royalist surgeon. And of course, one thing that's going to happen with musket balls is they can shatter bones. If a bone gets shattered, the limb has got to come off.
Is that right? It's not just going to heal itself?
It's not going to heal. A shattered bone will not heal itself. Well, we've got a very, very good example of what happens when you don't treat a wound. And that happened here at the Commandery in 1651 at the Battle of Worcester. Hamilton, the commander of the Royalist forces, was wounded in his leg. The attending surgeon at the time was Richard Wiseman. However, Wiseman decided he was going to accompany Charles II and leave Hamilton to the tender mercies of a couple of apprentices. Things did not go well. Hamilton's condition deteriorated. Even Cromwell offered to send his surgeon to help Hamilton. Hamilton refused and eventually died.
So, should they have amputated Hamilton's leg?
Probably yes, because once gangrene had set in, either you practiced debridement, cutting away the flesh, but if the bone had been shattered, the leg had to come off.
So if I'm shot in the arm here,
Yeah.
you'd have had that arm off in a flash?
If the bone shattered, if the infection had set in, yes. This is where Paré again came to the fore. In the last documentary that we did, looking at trepanning, it was a hand drill.
Trepanning, so going into the brain?
Into the skull.
Into the skull?
Into the skull. We don't go into the brain.
Of course, don't touch the brain.
Don't touch the brain. They knew that in the medieval period, don't touch the brain.
So this is head wounds now?
Head wounds,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you give me a demonstration of how this was done?
I certainly can. Do we have a willing subject?
Well, actually, luckily, I have just been out of the garden bludgeoning a skull with a musket, so here's one I prepared earlier.
Excellent.
What do you reckon, Kev? Is it survivable?
Probably not, because as we can see, there's been a couple of blows here. Basically, that is going to liquefy the brain, which just demonstrates how vicious even the butt end of a musket could be. If there wasn't a gaping hole there, then I would be suggesting we drill a hole.
Look at that.
Paré's design for a drill, still used even today in hospitals. It's a brace and bit. Anybody who's into woodwork would recognise it.
1 second. Why are you drilling a big hole in someone's head in the first place?
It might be a depressed fracture, maybe an embedded weapon.
Okay, so if I hadn't hit it as hard, if it just sort of pushed the skull in a bit, you drill out the bits.
We need to get that bone out. We need to get the pressure off the brain. To the 17th century mind, we've disrupted the humours.
Right, you bet you have.
So, if you are going to drill into somebody's skull,
Just don't try this at home.
We go back to the knife, we would cut across, and then we would lever the skin back. So expose the skull.
Oh my God.
Then, get a little auger, we put that in there, and we just make a little hole. Now, in that little hole we've made, we will place that spike, and then we cut round.
Goodness gracious me.
Yeah.
And that chops a nice little round circle out the skull.
Indeed it does, because we've got the cutting edge there, but don't forget, there's a problem. You've got a great big spike there. If you carry on going down, that spike's going to pierce the brain. So this is where Paré was really clever.
Retractable.
Okay, remove the spike, you fix the hood to the depth you want, replace the cutting edge in the groove you've made, and carry on drilling through.
Drilling through the skull.
Okay.
I would have to be so ill to let you do that to my head. I mean, I think I'd take death over that. Oh.
We can't do that, however. Not with this one.
Because there's a big hole in the skull.
There's a big hole already.
So what are we using?
Okay, first thing we're going to do, cut the skin away. We've got some loose pieces of bone in there. We don't want those pieces of bone penetrating the brain. So, what I'm going to do,
Poking around inside the skull. There we go.
oh God, there we go. Now, we've got a couple more pieces in there.
There's another little piece coming out.
Yeah.
Here. Okay.
Now, we've got the pieces of skull out. Yeah. We didn't want any pieces being left in and penetrating the brain. There's something else I've got to do now, and I've got to use another instrument that was invented by Paré, the elevator, because I just want to make sure that all the pieces around the hole are still secure. We place that on the skull and we just go around making sure none are loose.
So it's like an egg, like a boiled egg. You don't want another piece just to break off.
And thankfully, they're all secure.
Could that heal over?
Not really, no. But in the 17th century, we started applying silver coins.
What, they plugged the gap with a silver coin?
Yeah. But we haven't quite finished, because there's still some sharp edges.
Yes, I was going to say.
What we need is the lenticular. So that goes into the hole, and then what we do is we just go around
shaving off the edges.
Shaving off the edges.
And the guy is conscious while you're doing this.
Yeah, but don't forget, there's no nerve endings in the skull.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, so you're not going to feel it. And even today, when we do operations on the brain, people are still awake. So the surgeons know if they hit anyway and there's a problem, how the patient responds. However, Wiseman did make a complaint about some surgeons doing trepanning. He said all too often they take off with pieces of the skull and use them as amulets.
Lucky charms.
Yeah, he didn't like that. So what would happen is cover the wound up, make sure the pus is flowing, and then bed rest. But this is an expensive operation.
Could only the richest people in society afford to have their head trepanned?
Yeah, they could afford the treatment. In the English Civil War, a lot of the soldiers, the foot soldiers, would have to deal with whoever's in the baggage train, often surgeons getting practice, the journeymen. Those as part of regiments would have their own surgeons paid for by the commanders, the lords.
I'd pay someone a lot of money not to have my head drilled into. So it's amazing that as military technology is advancing on the battlefield, the medical technology is keeping pace with it, or trying to.
And it's always been that way. The daughter of war is surgery. New weapons, you need to develop new ways of dealing with the results of those weapons. For example, super glue was originally developed to shut wounds.
So they're getting better at treating the wounds with better equipment, but is their understanding of the basic human biology changing as well?
They are getting an understanding of how the muscles work, the anatomy, but it is frozen in what causes disease and what causes illnesses and sepsis and gangrene. That's frozen, and that remains for some centuries to come.